we're not used to talking about legacy because we equate legacy with death.
Mm.
And we don't like to talk about death, right? But legacy is about life.
Can you break down what legacy really is, and what we miss in the building of something to transition to legacy?
Legacy is in our values. The legacy is in our name. It's in our culture. It's in our family. It's in knowing who we are and whose we are. And those are the things that if we hand those things down, then the next generation doesn't have to start from ground zero and rebuild everything. Your legacy is also what you're doing behind that microphone, right? You are sharing your story with somebody out there who you'll never meet.
Mm-hmm.
You'll never meet, but you're part of the legacy because you're pouring into them and you're giving them the strength to step forward and to say, me too. That happened to me. It happened to her. And look at what she's doing. Look at how she's building. Look, that's the bridge you're creating with somebody out there whose face you will never see.
Hey, thank God for another day. Hey, I know we could be another way. Hey, pray. Thank God for another day. Hey, I know we could be another way.
It's a new week at Jess Ask the Podcast, the safe space where transparency meets transformation. It's your girl, Jessica S. Smith, and I do nothing without my girl, Desiree.
Hey.
Desiree.
Hey.
Desiree.
Hey.
Desiree.
Hey.
Desiree. Desiree. Desiree.
Shaka laka boom, shaka laka boom, 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 shaka laka boom.
I wish I could see her dancing.
Hey, you know I had said one time I was gonna.
Did you just James Brown me?
Did I? Was that? What
Hey,
happened?
hey.
It just came out my spirit. It just came out because
you old.
Watch your mouth.
Okay.
But hey, I'm really starting to enjoy this little jingle jangle situation.
So you're enjoying the song now?
I am. I'm kind of liking it a little bit.
A little bit.
It get you loose and free, and kind of get you in the mindset of we about to have a conversation.
We're about to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Desiree, how are you feeling today?
Oh man, today I'm thinking because I want to be honest.
Okay.
I am actually really good, Jessica.
Okay.
We talked about. I'm sure at this point people know how we record, right?
Yeah.
And so today started off as a day, but I'm very grateful that we didn't allow the start of the thing to dictate the end of the thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was a little challenging tech things, all the things was happening, but I was like, oh, this is gonna be good.
Yeah.
All these they about to be real good, and they have been just that, and the conversation we're about to have now is
It's to you what you said. The start of the thing is not the end of the thing, and we have an opportunity to shift the trajectory of the legacy we want to lead.
Yes.
And the person that we have here as a guest today is super special to me because I know y'all heard me talk about me being in a 7-figure podcast community. Not only being, but having the opportunity to coach every Wednesday. He is in this community. I've seen him grow. I remember when he was first starting. I remember, all the questions that he had, and to see him executing like in the confidence that he's executing is just very rewarding. And so this one's personal. This one, I don't invite just anybody. And so for me to invite him, just know he carries some oil, okay? I would call him a legacy coach, right? He teaches on legacy, not just in a financial standpoint, but mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. And he really centers people back into the ground of family dynamic, the ecosystem of family. And so I would like to introduce to some and present to others the host of Inheritance to Income podcast, Mr. Garrick Francis.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Look at him. Don't he look nice? Look at Garrick's face.
Suave.
Don't get it twisted though. The man of God come with all. I'm so proud of you, Garrick.
Thank you. Look, it's when you hang around people who have the right spirit, some of it has to pour into you. Mm-hmm. And so you and Nella and the whole community, it is hard not to want to execute when you have people who are pouring so much into you.
Yeah. Like I I really value what you bring to the podcasting world, because I think that we talk about mindset all the time, and then you say you want finances, you won't change your finance, you won't change this, but you really get into the nitty gritty of family. This is a quote from you. You say, "What you build is not a legacy when people aren't prepared to carry it."
Right. That's right. That's right.
Let's talk about that, because we talk about this word legacy. Can you break down what legacy really is, and what we miss in the building of something to transition to legacy?
Right. Well, legacy starts a lot earlier than we think. Right. Legacy begins when we make a decision that affects someone else. And so we always think about legacy as an asset, whether it's Big Mama's house or whether it's something we hand down. But the legacy is in our values. The legacy is in our name. It's in our culture. It's in our family. It's in knowing who we are and whose we are. And those are the things that if we hand those things down, then the next generation doesn't have to start from ground zero and rebuild everything. And so when we think about legacy, what I want people to think about is, what are the things that you got from your grandmother or your great grandmother or your coach that have been poured into you that you are stewarding for the next generation? Because that's what has to happen. Your legacy is activated by the next generation. It's not you. Your legacy becomes activated when the next generation is prepared to carry it forward. And that's how you live on. People concerned about living on, you live on through the people you prepare to move forward.
So what does that preparation look like?
It's different for different people. I think when you're thinking about a family is a system, right? A lot of people don't think about it. A family is a system. And so in that family, you have people playing different roles. You have people who are peacemakers. You have people who are facilitators. You have people who are leaders. And so when you're doing that, you have to have some clarity about who's good at what. What is your role within the family or the organization? And when we have some clarity around those roles, we can start having what I call unaccustomed conversations. And those are the ways that we move people forward. Not uncomfortable, but unaccustomed.
Break down a little bit more. Unaccustomed conversation. What does that look like?
So in our families, for instance, we're not used to talking about legacy because we equate legacy with death. And we don't like to talk about death, right? But legacy is about life. Legacy is about living on. Let me tell you a story. So my mom said to me she died 4 days short of her 98th birthday. And so shortly before she died, a few months, she said, I don't want people to forget me. And I told her, no one will forget you. I'll make sure of that. And so what she gave me was her values and her culture and her name, and I give that to my children. But the conversations that you have to be about what values do we want to hand down? What are the intangibles? What are the things that we have of heart value in our family that we want to pass on? What are the struggles we've had? We don't like to share struggles. So what are the struggles that we've had as a family that got us to where we are today that will allow us to move forward in the future? And so if we don't start having some of these unaccustomed conversations around the family boardroom, the family table, then the young people will never know how to move forward. And they'll never value what they've been given. And so that's the way I look at it. I think that there's an old saying that says, or it came around in the 60s, it says, when an elder dies, a library burns to the ground. And we can't let that wisdom die with the elders. It has to be passed on through those unaccustomed conversations, and we have to make them comfortable.
So, man, you already talking good, y'all. I hope y'all ready to write some stuff down, because you really, you're not just you're not a complainer of legacy or the lack thereof. You really teach people how to build intentionally for the legacy, right? One of the things I'm curious about, Gary, is the reasoning behind the difficulty of these conversations that you're bringing up. What are you finding that's consistently coming up that's the resistance of leaning into these maybe even uncomfortable conversations that we might need to have around the family business table?
I think families, and especially some of the families in our community, don't like to talk about the hard times, right? As parents, we don't necessarily want to share with our children how hard it was. We want them to step over the missteps that we had. We're trying to create a better life. But the better life that we're creating is because we went through those struggles. God didn't put us through the test, right? We went through the test so we could be prepared for today. And so we don't like to talk about the struggles. And then from a younger person's standpoint, my observation is that we feel as though we're overstepping our bounds. Right. We have to be respectful. We can't talk about those things. We can't ask about those things. And so we feel like we have to have permission to ask about those things. And so it's like when you sit down at the table and you say to your dad, tell me the 3 hardest things in your life. It's going to be a painful conversation. But it's a conversation that will benefit you. And it will release him, right? To be able to give you more of what happened.
Hold on. That last line just took me. It will benefit me, but it will release him. What does that release look like for parents? That especially with the parents that are listening right now. What does that release look like? Because I know there's some association with things that when you think about when we think about the ecosystem, we think about the child thinking of the parent as their Superman, their Superwoman. And you as a parent, you kind of take, I'm a dog mom. Shout out to the dog moms and dog parents. But I can only imagine how much pride you take into making the Superman, Superwoman identifier work successfully, and to find out that the cape has not always been on, or my cape is torn, or my cape is dingy. It seems like there's a fear that's attached to that. So how do you coach people through the releasing process as parents?
Absolutely. I think we have to identify what gap we're in. Right.
Okay.
We have to think about it. Are we in what I call a loss gap? What event triggered us? What happened to put us into this place place of fear and of hurt? What's going on? And so when I talk to people, it is really thinking about, what do you want to step into? Right? What are you waiting to step into? And what do you need to release to be able to go there? Because if you have been working for 20 or 30 years, whether it's in a corporate job or a small business or just to lead your family, you have filled yourself up with those responsibilities. And now you're looking to step into something else, but you don't have room. You have to make room. I mean, I know you all have talked about, your gifts will make room for you, but you have to sometimes release some things out of your life to go where you're supposed to go. And even for parents or for founders of businesses, you have to be able to let go of some things, including those things that you don't really like to discuss. Right? We don't want to discuss. I'll give you an example. My mom, was coming of age in the 1930s and 40s and 50s. She was a young woman in the middle age, really, in the 1960s. She didn't love to talk about the stories of the civil rights struggle and the times that she was yelled at on a bus. She didn't like to talk about the times but she told my granddaughter the story of when she was on that bus by herself and when people threatened her and called her names. And it hurt her. You could see it in her eyes. But she needed my daughter to know that story so that my daughter could progress forward. But I also released my mom to be able to tell that story and to move on and do other things she needed to do.
That's so good, Gary. I think that is very important. What comes to mind, and I don't know if I've told this. So I used to have a organization called Naturally Devoted, right? And really the heartbeat of Naturally Devoted is really in Jess Ask. I was just calling it a different thing at the time. And so when I was doing these blogs, there was one specific blog where I opened up about experiencing domestic violence, right? And it was after the fact that I had a conversation with my aunt. One thing, me and my aunt like this. I love her to death. And she's one that believes that when we don't have the conversation, we're not preparing the next generation, the legacy conversation. I like that, the legacy conversation. And so we were having a conversation, her not knowing that I had experienced domestic violence because that was something I was ashamed of. She opened up to me and told me that there was between my grandparents, there was some domestic altercations that happened, and not just one over the other. They was at each other. They were at each other, but we never experienced that. We only experienced the love because by the time the grandkids came, they overcame that cycle. And so love. When I say love my grandparents down, love my grandparents down. Don't look at them any differently. But I needed to know that to be free from what I had experienced. Because if I had known that before, I feel like I would have known what to look out for. I feel like, no, before you even experience physical abuse, there's already mental and emotional abuse. And there are cycles, generational cycles that come up even when you hide especially when you hide the thing. And so now I'm so vocal about like my experience, not because I'm so adamant about what I went through, but because I understand that if I can make sure that my daughter or my son doesn't experience this level of heartbreak and frustration, then I feel like I've done my part. But I think that because I didn't know, it left me in shame too long.
But your legacy, your legacy is not just in your house. Your legacy is also what you're doing behind that microphone, right? You are sharing your story with somebody out there who you'll never meet. Mm-hmm. You'll never meet, but you're part of the legacy because you're pouring into them and you're giving them the strength to step forward and to say, me too. That happened to me. It happened to her. And look at what she's doing. Look at how she's building. Look, that's the bridge you're creating with somebody out there whose face you will never see. Mm-hmm. And you are leaving a legacy even that way. So it's not just inside your family, right? Mm. We leave legacies in other ways too, which is really important.
You're talking good, because I think that we put a box around legacy. Like I said earlier in the conversation, we were talking about finances and not really understanding how impactful, like you said, leaving a legacy. Like, sometimes I don't remind myself of how impact makes legacy, like what we do on Wednesdays, or even something simple as what we post. Right now, you get to control the legacy that you leave because of social media. You know what I'm saying? Like, now I never connected that into this conversation. Like, social media is a legacy presenter. That's what's coming up. Would you agree with that? Like, social media is a legacy presenter.
It can be.
Okay.
It can be if you are your authentic self. Right. So if 3 generations from now, your great-great-grandchildren, your great-great-great-grandchildren, somebody would have stopped and asked them, tell me about Mama Jessica, right? What would they say? You can design what they say. Mm-hmm. But if they go back and look at all this social media today, will they see what you want them to see? Or will you be trying to explain something to them that wasn't you? Mm. And so if you're being your authentic self when you're out there, yes, it does. But what I encourage people to do, we have all this social media, and I encourage people to do what I call family media. It's the phone in front of you. Sit down and record a letter to your great-great-grandchildren about what is important to you right now at this age. And so when they look at that one day, they will see what was important to you. They'll see the values. They'll see the culture. They'll see the pain in your face. They'll see the pause. they'll hear the voice. And so it's kind of it's a virtual hug that you're sending 2 or 3 generations forward. And the power of the technology we have right now to leave a living legacy is untapped.
That was good, and I'm glad that you built that from not just being a presenter, but you can allow it to be what it needs to be. I think that we have to take the responsibility of our presentation to the next level of authenticity. That was about to look. I was gonna tear that word up, Garrick.
We're gonna work it. We're gonna get
Ooh,
there.
I was gonna tell you know how I tell a word up. You know how I tell a word up.
Yeah.
Something that I just feel like I feel like with you, so many memories are coming up. We have same side of family. I have this great grandfather, and he is known. Y'all can Google him. He's known as the man that with the praying pigs in Mississippi. And it's on YouTube. I'm gonna have to send it to you after this, Gary. I'm gonna find it and send it to you.
I want to see that. Yeah.
And I think about that. Same auntie showed it to us when we were younger. Didn't really understand the impact, but now when I watch it. You know, I try to watch it probably several times throughout the year because it just reminds me of that the grace has been in my bloodline. That we've been doing it. And so even like the power of prayer, the legacy of prayer, like you watch him and he's making pigs pray. And it's so funny. People think it's so funny. It's a fun fact. I make Amore, my dog. She prays for her food. And that's literally what my great grandfather was doing, making pigs pray before their food. And I think with even before, like, even knowing that, like, just appreciating the valuing the experience. I think that's what I'm hearing you say so far. We put so much value in like the tangible tools of legacy versus the experiences of the legacy.
We do. And one thing I like to say is that your children will certainly they may one day do what you say. Mm-hmm. They will certainly one day do what you do. Right? They will watch you more than they will listen to you. And so they will emulate you. And so if you are showing forth to them your praying spirit, if you're showing forth if I show my son growing up that I open the door from my mother and I open the door from my wife, my son opens doors. Mm. If I show a respect, my son's going to show respect. They watch you. They do what you do. So part of your legacy is how you act and how you show your family, your children, your church, what it means to be a person of faith, what it means to be a mother, a father, an auntie, a community leader. And these are things we need to value as part of our legacy, and we need to write them down. We need to record them because oftentimes, you know, we transfer responsibility before we transfer assets and before we transfer titles. We start to give those things to people much sooner than maybe they're ready, but we start to hand those things over. And so we have to make sure that we're walking right.
Your language to identify the family ecosystem, like, it's mind blowing. You recently did a episode using the Jackson family as an example. When I say that was pure genius, that I enjoyed, you know, from a standpoint of like podcasting or whatever, like, okay, the title was right. And then what you said supported the title. You went ahead and said up front, like, hey, this is not gossip. This is not me going back and forth about a movie. I'm using this family as an example. The breakdown of everything just stuck with me. But there was one thing I just have to talk to you about. And that's that founder gravity. I have never in my life heard a term like that. And I want us to get into it. So can you explain to the audience what is founder gravity and why is it important?
Founder gravity is the idea that you build something. And when you're a builder, you have to have things revolving around you. Everything needs the strength of a small business or the strength of a family is often because there's one person who makes decisions, who sees the aspirations and the potential, who develops the talent, who decides to invest all of themselves into something. And it's necessary in that season. But as we move forward into the later seasons of life, that founder gravity becomes a trap, and it traps the person who's the creator because they may not be able to step in what they need to step into. This idea of release to increase, they may not be able to move there. But what it also does to the people around you is it keeps you from being able to take off. It's like the planet system. It just keeps you in the orbit of the founder, and you can't get out of it. And the founder can't be released to do other things. And so you get in this vicious cycle of just not understanding what the next step is supposed to be. And so with a case of a person who's a really strong business owner, a strong pastor, a strong patriarch, a strong matriarch, if that person can't let go, if you can't prepare the next generation, if you can't prepare the handoff, then the possibility is that legacy dies. And the people who want to receive it, if they're not allowed to grow, there can also be a lot of weight on their shoulders.
But also, I think in that same sense of what you're talking about, let's say we're talking about founder gravity, right? And I'm going to lean into the example that you've already put out there because I want people to go to that episode. That episode was phenomenal. You hear me? Absolutely phenomenal. So you use the example of Joe Jackson and him being able to see and I properly identify that my kids have more, right? And so that you use the founder gravity for that example with Joe Jackson. Not only the ability to when like you use the example of when Michael wanted to leave, right? There was felt like betrayal, but the other sense of, okay, let's say if we stay, does that mean that I have to do it like the founder? Like what's the disconnect between, okay, the what is there, and I understand the importance of the what, but what's the freedom of the how? What would you say to that?
So the how is in recognizing. A friend of mine, Shakisha Morgan, the legacy counselor, has a beautiful phrase. It's called building and bridging, right? So we have to build, but if we don't bridge, then there's no handoff. There's no way to hand it to the next generation. So the founder who's in that situation, the Joe Jackson character, he created it, but he didn't know how to let it go. He didn't know how to let it go and to step into what was next. And so he wasn't empowering his children to take over the legacy that he was building. It felt personal to him. It felt as a betrayal to him. And at the same time, you could see the weight on the children. They were respectful in a way. They didn't want to take away from him what he had built, but they wanted to build into other things. And so the how is back to these conversations we have to start having. The first conversation is not about control. The first conversation is about, what do we both want for the future? When you sit down and you're potentially going to be the person who carries forward that legacy, you might sit down with your parent or grandparent, and the first question you might ask is, in 5 years from now, what does a good day look like for you? Right? You're not asking about assets. You're not asking about money. You're not asking about control. You're saying, in 5 years from now, what does a good day look like for you? And you're helping to create this conversation about what comes next. And then you can relate what that 5 years from now looks like for you. And so now you're sharing aspirations about your legacy. You're not sharing about who gets what or who controls or who gets this house or who gets that piece of the legacy. You're really thinking about how do we preserve what you have built, and how do we bridge to the next generation?
Man, this is so good. You have my mind going, Garrick. So what I just thought about was like how you said earlier that it's not just like within the family, right? That we can experience different people. And I have a spiritual mother, D. Fumby. And one of the things that she does, she'll randomly call me, or I'll randomly be with her and we do an activity, right? And man, this is so good. And I specifically remember us playing Connect Four. We were playing Connect. She has the big Connect Four. It's not small.
Big one.
The big Connect Four. So since she was like, let's play Connect Four, and I was like, okay. I'm thinking she just want to beat me because she's really good at everything. Like she's really good at everything. And so she did actually beat me, but it wasn't as easy as I thought it was gonna be. And we ended the game as, Jessica, I'm really impressed with you. I was like, for what? And she says, I wanted to play with you because it taught me a lot about how you think. And she was like, you're very strategic in your movement. And she started talking to me. I was like, how did you get all of that out of that? But even thinking about her and her legacy, it's almost like, can I trust Jessica when I'm not in the room? Can she see the things, or be patient with herself enough to maneuver and gather the information? So at any given point, if I'm with her, I need to be prepared to answer what just happened. Like if I'm watching and witnessing her move in calculated rooms and all that stuff, I have to say, okay, she'll always ask me, what just happened? What do you think of just happened? Why do you think I responded this way? And I'll respond, and she'll give me her feedback. I think that's one of the most the healthiest thing I have ever experienced in my life. And now I didn't know that was a legacy thing. After listening to you say, hey, what for 5 years from now, what's a good day to you? What? That has to do with legacy? We don't connect those dots. And now we have an opportunity to be more intentional with our day-to-day. I wonder what your intentionality looks like from when you started out as a parent to now. You said you've been a parent for about 35 years now, right?
I've been married for 35 years, been a parent for, my son's 25, my daughter turned 21, and I turned 60 this year. So it's a big year. So yeah. I think, when you talk about intentionality as a parent, the beautiful thing about my podcast is that the person behind the camera for me is my son. And so, your Desiree is my Reese. Mm-hmm. And getting to work with your son is it's a gift. It's a blessing. Right. But the intentionality has been, my father died when I was 5 years old. And so for me, part of my legacy design, I didn't really know it at the time, but as when I had children, was to do the things in life that I didn't get to do with my dad, to make sure my son had those things. And every day when I passed 5 years old with my son, every day after that was something I had never experienced. And so building that into him and giving my daughter those things, and my wife and I together determining that we value what we value together, we wanted our children to value. And in terms of legacy, I'll tell you a little story. My son and daughter, my wife and I are we're sappy. We're just sappy.
What that mean?
I just say it. We are lovey-dovey. You see us walking down the street, we're gonna hold hands. I'm a hug her in public. I'm gonna say boo. I'm just, that's how we are together, because she's my best friend. And my son and daughter like to say that we have ruined them, because now that's what they look for. So the legacy of our relationship is something they're looking for in a time period that may not value it the same way. But they know, but my daughter knows her value because of the way I treat her mother. And my son knows how to value because of the way I treat their mother. And those are the things we need to, then we have an actual conversation about it. So we don't let it just be, you see it. This is intentional, son. This is how you are as a husband, as a father, as a community leader, or this is how you should be treated. my wife, it's like, this is how you work together to build a life and leave it for the next generation. And for me, it comes because it was a legacy of my grandparents and my family.
No, that is powerful within itself, because it goes back to the importance of, you've talked about this. You kind of hinted to it when we were talking about the founder gravity and knowing the role in your role in the ecosystem. Something that you bring up in the Jackson episode is the different roles of, like, not only Joe Jackson but Karen and Michael, and how when you misappropriate those roles or mismanage those roles, how it can leave a negative impact and leave loopholes in that ecosystem. What are some more? I guess you can speak about Karen, the example of Karen's role and Michael's role, and how to healthily manage and appropriate those roles in the family ecosystem.
Right. So when you look at every family has a system, right? And in the larger families, it becomes more complicated, just like in a small family business. But there are people who are going to have certain skills. There are people who have certain gifts, and you want to look at those even as a parent, and you identify those gifts. And certain of your children will like numbers, and they'll like math, and certain are going to be creative, and they'll be a peacemaker. And it's largely biblical. I mean, you can find all these roles in the Word, right? You can
tell them.
You can talk about blessed is the peacemaker, and so someone in the family has to play that role. You have to have a Aaron, you have to have a communicator in the Bible, right? You have to have someone who's going to be able to put the words together, because some leaders can't do it. And so you think about these roles in your family, and you think about the gifts that we've been given, and how in a family do we help people? How do we help people with those roles, right? I mean, even like when you're building your community, you're talking about a safe space, right? But people can look to you as a teacher, as a coach, as a motivator. You have different roles, but your spirit allows you to do those things. And so we look at our family. I think we will benefit each other if we look at our family and our family businesses the same way. That each of the people here has a talent, has a role, has an interest. Because if you talk to somebody, you'll also find out what they're interested in. Then you help that person develop so that they can carry forward the legacy that you're going to hand to them. And that legacy will grow beyond your wildest imagination if you help prepare the people to carry it.
It goes back to what the whole preparing people to carry it. When you said that, and it just blew my mind. And I'm glad you brought up this. It is in the Bible, because the Lord showed me David and Solomon, and how David prepared the place. Solomon saw the preparation and understood the promise. And because Solomon understood it, when David passed, it wasn't a heavy load, as heavy as a load, because Solomon was already learning the structure. Now, Solomon had a different way of doing things, right? But it still was the foundation that God had already given David. So when you look at the temple, it was always, I'm going to complete the temple that God assigned my father to do. And I think that when we look at the biblical principles of legacy, we're missing points like that, of the connection, and that David, this is so good. David had Solomon around.
Come on.
David had Solomon in proximity. Oh, I feel my help coming, Garrick.
Yes,
you know when my help coming.
Come on.
But David had Solomon in proximity, and proximity let Solomon see the promise before the promise was fulfilled. Yes. And I think that I want to know your thoughts on this, the connection between legacy and the lack of men. Like, are we losing legacy because we're not in the proximity of our men? Because if he is, quote unquote, the founder gravity, then what is bringing everything together? That's why that's my vision of it. I would love to hear your thoughts on that particular thought.
I'm gonna say yes, but I'm also going to say that one of the episodes I did was, do you have to have children to leave a legacy?
Mm.
And the answer is no, because some of the people who are most impactful in our lives are our coaches, our youth ministers, our people who are in the community who took care of us when we were young. And so, yes, we need someone in our life to help pour into us, to help correct us, to help show us the way. Emerson said, "Men are what their mothers make them," and I agree with that. And but my pastor likes to say, "Men are what they see in their fathers
Mm.
and what they watch," and especially among our boys, they watch intently. If you ever look at, even on a playground or in church or somewhere else, little boys, they are looking, right? And they are often looking at their fathers or the men in the family or different things. Look up from the game, they're going to be looking at those people. And so, yes, we need that proximity of men teaching and showing and being examples of what it means to be fathers and workers and leaders in our community. I wanted desperately to be fathers, but as I mentioned, many of us, my father died when I was 5 years old. And so you would say I grew up without a father,
Mm-hmm.
but I had many fathers, right? And the Bible says the same thing. I had many fathers, right? My grandfather, right, was there. He was 7 years old when my dad died.
Mm.
And in church, my mother asked my uncles to pick me up because I fell asleep on the church pew, because funerals can get long in the South.
Yeah.
And so I fell asleep on the church pew, and my mom turned to my uncles and said, could you pick him up? But my granddad, who was 70 years old, he said, I got him. And he picked me up, and he never put me down again. And so we need people, and there are other people who can do that. But yes, I think we need to encourage the men in our community to look beyond themselves and to find someone who they see who may not have that strong figure in their life and determine that's going to be part of my legacy. But that's part of what we're stepping into, right? That's what some of us need to be released to step into.
Mm-hmm.
Our children are at a stage where, okay, I can release now. I can go do some of these other things. Or someone's retiring. I hate the word retirement, but someone is retiring and they now are released to do something, to step into something else.
Mm. Garrick, I feel like you're tugging on my spirit and my heart and all of the stuff like that. I feel so good right now. I feel so good. So I know you do this. You offer services for people that's concerned for their ecosystem and what legacy looks like for them. So if I'm coming to you, Garrick, what does that process look like? Like, how do you help me navigate my legacy?
Right. So first, there's a couple of things you can do. If it's really looking at your legacy, I have a tool I call a legacy deployment reflection, and it allows you to assess where you are, and you can, in a few different areas of your life. And then it allows you to say, okay, well, where do I need to go next? What is it I need to do to deploy my legacy the way I really want to deploy it, to design your legacy, not to allow it to be done by default. And so after you can do this reflection, I also have a tool called a founder gravity check. So if it's more specific to the business person who's been tied to that business for a long time, but it really starts with a conversation. I mean, I think this kind of conversation we're having, you open doors by your words. And so if you sit down and have a conversation to see if you're in that season of life, if there's a particular gap that you're in that you need to fill, and then you can move forward. A lot of people who I talk to, some I've come more recently to believe is that when we are 6 years old, a lot of people get a t-ball coach. And when we're about 12 years old, we got a basketball coach. And when we're 25 years old, we have a coach. And when we're a young executive, we have a coach. When you start a podcast, you need a coach. When we're in our latter stages of our career, we have coaches. And many of us, when we retire and walk out the door and we have 35 years of life left, We don't have a coach. And that might be the most meaningful part of our life, when we have the opportunity to do what we're purposed to do. You know, I've been doing a 9 to 5 for a long time, but now God has got me wide open. I have time, Lord willing. I have put together some resources. I have networks. I have relationships. I have influence, and I'll have it for the next 30 years, but I don't know how to deploy it. And so we just get stuck. We get stuck after our success with deploying our purpose that God has purposed us to do.
But not if we come see Garrick.
Hey,
Not if we come see Garrick.
We're here to help. We're here to help. That's what we want to do. We want to help people deploy their legacy, to break free, to release, to be effective, and to do those types of things that will just make a meaningful difference in their generational readiness.
Man, I am so amazed by you, Garrick. Like I tell you this a lot, and I just want to say it on my platform, that I am so honored to know you. You stretch me. You stretch me as a woman, but you really stretch me as a coach, because like you're the type of person that if I'm coaching you, I have to make sure, not necessarily that I know what I'm doing, but I gotta come with greatness because you deserve that. You deserve nothing less than my excellence, because you're gonna execute on what I give you, and just what you've been able to, in knowing yourself. This is just a tidbit for podcasters, or if you're looking to start a podcast. Knowing yourself helps you be a better podcaster, right? And I might have been doing this longer, but he immediately was able to get a concept of, I already have the legacy concept. I'm already doing this, and I'm going to maneuver that and make that language louder. That's what podcasting does. He's making the message, his messaging of legacy louder, right? He's amplified his voice. And when I tell you, I'm not just proud of you. I'm grateful for you, because I am learning a lot from you. Like this is, I'm probably gonna binge watch you for a while, because I am just absolutely stunned, like just amazed by you. Like you deserve to be listened to. You deserve to be experienced. The people that experience you have hit a gold mine, and I'm so glad I got to hit it. I'm so glad I got to hit it. Desiree has been smiling this entire time. I just want you to know that. She has been smiling this entire time. Desiree, what you got over there?
No, this has been great. This is one of those mindful conversations, meaning like if the word legacy, right? I think we tend to know it to be one thing. It's, hey, what financial thing have you left your family? Have you or have not left the family, right? But what I'm hearing in this conversation is legacy is bigger than that, right? And so with it being a mindful conversation, it's in how you show up. It's in how you decide to parent. It's in how you decide to be a friend, a neighbor, a business person. It's how you choose to operate the purpose that God has given you on this earth, right? I was sitting here and I was thinking through this conversation, as I was listening to you guys, Bishop Turner came to mind. Bishop Turner was our choir director at UAB, the University of Alabama, Birmingham. He directed the gospel choir for over 25 something years, right? And I had the opportunity to experience him for about 3 years while I was in college. And when I tell you, I looked forward to Monday nights, because for some college kids who may not have been in church, or they may have been off from their hometown, to me, that was my, I'm gonna say my sanctuary, right? Hulsey Hall was the moment that the opportunity that I got every Monday night to experience not only God, but to experience a great legacy, right? Bishop Turner was so brilliant when it came to music. He was so brilliant when it came to composing, and he has given a space and a place for many different artists. That's actually how I met Coach JD, is through the UAB Gospel Choir. He's given so many people an opportunity to to just be who God has called him to be. And so he passed away a few years ago during COVID. And I remember at the time I couldn't go to the service. I had just had surgery, and so I watched it online. And I remember seeing how full the church was, and I remember seeing how many people were actually watching it live online. And for some reason, I just thought, I was like, wow, this is what legacy looks like. The many lives that he has touched just by being obedient and showing up in who God had already called him to be, doing the thing that God had called him to do. And so I just thought about that. And so for me, it's an opportunity to just evaluate how I've been showing up, right? Evaluate the thing that I know God has called me to do. Am I doing it to the best of my ability, or am I kind of half-tailing it, right? Because legacy it can be good. It could be a good thing, a positive thing, or it could be a negative thing. If we think about, like you talked about family, like some of the that's just how Big Mama did it, or this is just how we do the thing, that don't make it right, but that's the legacy that has been left on that family thing. So I just appreciate this mindful conversation about legacy, because I think if we all just take a genuine self-evaluation, I think that we can really take this word and how we decide to show up in the world and what we decide to leave at heart. So thank you, Mr. Francis, for your legacy.
You can call him Garrick.
Okay, Garrick.
You can call him Garrick.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you for sharing the legacy of Bishop Turner.
Yes.
Because that way, as my mom said, I don't want to be forgotten. He'll live on through the people he poured into, because you are willing to speak that word.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's good.
most definitely. This has been a very refreshing conversation, Gary. I'm so glad I invited you. I was like, I try not to show favoritism. So I really asked God, okay, why am I asking this person? And I think when we're in the season of build or build, that's our mantra for the year, right? Build or build, that's what the Lord gave us. And we're talking about build or build. I think it has to go back to how you open up your podcast is, what you build is not a legacy when people aren't prepared to carry it. And so build or build is not just a mantra to just go out and build, but building intentionally so we can take the preparation of the thing to connect it to our legacy. The scripture that's coming to mind is about the vision, making it plain so that they can run with it, and they can run with it is the preparation to legacy. And so I'm so grateful that you are doing this. I'm so honored that you would come on the platform and share your intelligence here. So as a tradition on Jess Ask the Podcast, I give my guests the last say. And so I know we've talked about several things throughout legacy, but I also didn't know if you came in here with something on your heart. And so the floor is yours to leave your final thoughts with our audience.
I want your audience to know that life would be much simpler if you just start with one conversation with your parent or your grandparent or your grandchild that you're unaccustomed to having.
I love it. He did it all in one take, baby. All in one take. I love it. So I need you guys to follow Garrick. I normally don't do his call out, but I really need you guys to follow Garrick. Follow the Inheritance to Income podcast. We were going to collab. We're going to collab with him on this, so you can just go through the collaboration. He's also on social media. He's posted every week. Is it Wednesdays, Garrick, that you post, or Tuesdays?
Wednesdays.
So you'll have a new episode with from Garrick every single Wednesday. We fully support Garrick and his messaging here at Jess Ask the Podcast. And so, Garrick, thank you so much. Desiree, love you.
Love you, girl.
We love you guys. Until next week, until next time, remember, life could be much more simple if you just ask.
What's up, you guys? We hope you enjoyed that episode. If it resonated with you, make sure you like it. Now, if you thought about somebody as you were listening and you think they could benefit from it, go ahead and share it with them. Sharing is caring, right? And you know we're here every Thursday. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the notifications when a new episode drops. So until next week, guys, peace.